Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations with Friends. I'm Meredith, and you're about to meet an artist whose work is closely connected to her personal journey. And I would say that it's probably a journey that we're not even all aware of, that we've all been on, maybe especially females, but I can't say for sure, over many years. And Bella has a lot to say and a lot to show. Her name is Bella Cardim, and her art revolves around food. And her work has been exhibited in many galleries, and she's getting more attention. Somehow, whatever she's doing, and you'll see what she's doing, which is really pretty remarkable, is hitting a nerve with people and getting people not just to see the art, but to experience the art. So I don't want to say too much more, except that Bella Cardim's work has been exhibited in many galleries, but including the Bonnier Gallery in Miami, and also the Florida Biennial. And her work also was recently displayed in Brazil at let me just read this, because I think I better not read it because I won't pronounce it right. Bella, I'm going to leave it to you. Welcome to the program, and I'm just delighted to get to interview you on Conversations with Friends. So mention the name of the gallery in Sao Paulo.
Oh, first of all, hi, Meredith. Thank you so much for having me here. It's truly a pleasure to meet you and to have the opportunity to share my art and my story with all your audience and you. So yes, I've participated in collective shows in Brazil, and also I was selected, as you mentioned, for the Florida Biennial here in Hollywood. And I'm part of a collective here in Coral Gables. So this is where my studio is. And we are showing a piece at the Coral Gables Museum. It's called Everything Contains Everything Else. And last month, I was also at the MoCA, which is the Museum of Contemporary Arts of the Americas here in Miami as well. So it's been a good journey. Yes.
You and your work are on the move. And I just want to start with what it's all about. Your art revolves around food.
Yes,
and you might think, oh, that sounds pretty shallow, food, eating out, and it's very deep. So I want you to, it's deep and it's reflective. So it's not just about, oh, I went to a great restaurant or I cooked some good food. It goes much deeper than that. So maybe you could start with explaining what you're all about and what your work is all about.
Okay, sure. So I was a food photographer back in Brazil. So I'll go back a little and then I'll come back to the present time. So I was a food photographer back in Brazil. I grew up in the kitchen. My father had a restaurant, and being a food photographer was a way that I found to kind of honor my roots and, belong to my family. So my main job was to sell food. So, I was a food photographer for 20 years. And then we decided as a family to move here to the US. I'm 100% Brazilian, born and raised in Brazil. I spent my whole life in Brazil. And we decided to move here as a family project. And exactly 3 months after we moved here, my husband suffered an accident. He survived, but it was one of those life-changing events.
It was a traumatic accident. I mean, it was beyond
extremely traumatic. Yes. So he was cycling. He was run over by a car. He broke 17 bones, punctured both lungs. It was really hard. It was a hard period. And returning to a familiar behavior, I leaned on food for comfort. So I say that blueberry muffins became my new best friends because they were there for me. So I ate and I ate and I ate more. Something that I forgot to tell is that when we moved here, I applied for my master's degree. So I was accepted into my MFA program one day before the accident. So it took me 6 months to take care, like I dedicated myself entirely to take care of my husband and both my kids. But when I entered the program, like I started to think, because I totally lost track of myself to take care of them. I totally lost track of myself. And then I started to think, like, why food? Why do we, like, why do we eat for comfort? What's with comfort food? And that's where my work came from.
Mm. And so was it helping you? I mean, you say like eating the food, and I think most people, like you say, comfort food is you get depressed, you're alone, or whatever people are going through. Food is something that kind of makes you feel good for the time
And
being.
keeps you company, yes. But what I realized is that food, instead of nurturing me, was suffocating me. So I decided to use my work to talk about those issues. At first, like you can see a little bit of my work in
Yeah,
my
I want
background.
people to just take a look at some of the work.
Yes.
So it might not even look like food what I see, but it's
Yes,
food, right?
yes, yes. I often use food as a representation of my own body. So at first so you see, those are X-ray images. It's called Exposed. So it's a series that I made to deal with my husband's accident. So I use, like fruits and vegetables and the X-ray aesthetics because it was really present at that moment. Um, at first, just to be able to talk about the trauma, because I kept everything to myself. And this is a very familiar behavior for me, like I've kept so much for so long. And
Everything you're saying, I just can relate to, because I understand, that feeling of when we do go through something, we try to find a way to deal with it, right?
yes,
And so you did through food, but then you also went on a real personal journey as a result. I mean, it didn't just stop with, okay, I'm going to eat and eat and
no, 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 no.
do work about eating. It's not, it's very deep what happened to you.
Yes, because and as I told you, that's a funny thing that I learned about trauma. Like once you open that little door, like I was like, I'm gonna use my work to deal with the trauma of my husband's accident. So I opened that door. And then I realized that I had more to deal with. So through my work, for the first time, I was able to, like acknowledge and say it out loud and even write about it and talk about it, that I've had emotional eating disorders all my life. Very secretly, I never talked to anyone, not even like my therapist, my parents, my husband, no one, no one. So I struggled with bulimia and compulsive eating most of my life. And I have dysmorphia, which is it's body dysmorphic disorder. Is when you don't see yourself, like the way others see yourself. So I say that my work is not about my body or food. My work is about my relationship with my body and my relationship with food.
So it was a process. It wasn't something like, I mean, we all can have realizations from trauma. And I been
Yes.
through something similar when my husband was very sick. My late husband was very sick and almost died. So I know that feeling of, I remember, actually, it's funny, I could hardly talk for a while. It just hit me, it was, I couldn't talk for a while. I mean, I could, but not much. I feel like, the trauma, you do heal from the trauma, right? Eventually, right?
Yes.
But there has to be like that next step, right? It's like over, but it still stays with you. This, I mean, everything that you've been through, and you were talking about from childhood and issues with food to the trauma with your husband that he went through, that you went through, of course, as well. It's almost like you were just going through a journey, on this journey of self-exploration. Would you say that's what it was all about?
Yes. Yes. Totally. And like using life obstacles to grow. So like using what life offers us
Yeah.
as as a positive thing, because in the end, everything is positive, like if you learn from it and if you grow from
Mhm.
it, it's positive.
But you were growing also from creating this art, right? So
Yes.
the art was helping you to move along at the same
Yeah.
time that you were healing. I mean, did it happen at the same time that you started creating this art?
I mean, what I realized, like, and I say this quite often, it's not, like that I overcame everything and then I came back to share like a magic, or not even like a magic, or share like a recipe to, like deal with trauma or get over emotional eating disorders. Trauma, you need to learn to live with it, because sometimes it's always going to be there. And the same with emotional eating disorders. So I still struggle with it. I still struggle from time to time. Like I'm on therapy now. I use my work to talk about it. So, like being able to talk about it for me is amazing. But the struggle is real. And like sometimes I'm in the eye of the storm. So it's not exactly healing from, but it's learning to live with it.
Yes, but I feel, you having been and you are on a spiritual path, you've
Yes.
been, as I understand it, you've been meditating, you've taken a lot of classes. So you don't have to stay with this suffering. I mean, that's the
No.
difference. Some people and most people just stuff it, right? They hold it in and then years later, they're still dealing with whatever they went through, maybe as a child, maybe something happened to them as a child, but you had a way of healing and also through your art. So let me ask you something. So when people see your art, what, because you're, in LA, you had a show. I mean, you're really getting a lot of attention. I've read stories about you, magazine stories about you. You know, you're touching people, you're reaching people. So my feeling is you're not the only one, that
Yes.
been through
Yes,
this art.
but it's crazy, because I thought when I was a teenager, I thought it was just me. So
Yeah.
for me, that's the powerful thing, like that's why I feel that my work is so important, because I want to touch lives. I want people to know, like whoever is suffering from what I suffered all my life alone, that they are not alone. Because like I truly thought I was alone. It was just me, like everyone was happy, and I was struggling.
None
And
of
this is
us are
something
alone,
that is coming back. Yes. And this
but
is
we don't
something
know
that is
that.
coming back, especially with social media nowadays,
Yeah. It's getting
and
worse,
digital
right?
filters. It's getting a lot worse. Yes.
Especially
It's
for
getting a
young.
lot worse.
So let's talk about this body consciousness kind of thing, because this kind of relates to the Brahma Kumari's teachings too, that we're all souls. We're really all spirit. And located, we say, in the center of the forehead is the soul, but we're so focused on the body until we start thinking about these things and reflecting on and understanding these things. We're just focused on the body, and then we suffer. We suffer because we don't think we're beautiful enough, especially when you're young and you're comparing yourself to all these kind of fake people on, in the media that it's all contrived, or a lot of it is,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Um, but the idea, and I was just wondering how you think, the more, in a way, the more that you focus on the spirit and you realize that's who you really are, we say the
Exactly.
soul, doesn't that change everything? And
It changes everything. And I read a lot, I research a lot, and like even reading like old books from the 70s, from the 80s, especially when I reread The Beauty Myth, and you realize how much the industry profits from our own insatisfaction.
Mhm.
And just, like acknowledging this and being able to think and detach from this pressure, like of looking in a, like looking in a certain way. Um, it's it's amazing, because then you can focus on your soul and your, like personal growth, your journey and things like this.
When you do that, it changes. It really changes the way you see life. And we even, the Brahma Kumaris, have a way of, we say we like to look at people as souls, as light, and not even And also it can change if we all begin to think this way, or with, some kind of consciousness of this, then we don't look at people and dislike people because
Exactly.
they're
But
from
even
that place or that
even
place, that country or whatever,
even the way we perceive ourselves
Yeah.
changes, like what we value. It's not just, like the face, the hair, the body, especially the body. There's this big thing with the body. And then we realize that we are more than this. And I say this a lot, like my body, it doesn't define me.
Yeah, it doesn't. And if you
It doesn't
can
define
really
me.
limit yourself by just thinking you are the body, and that's all. And like you say, we live in this world. But so when people see your art, tell me, like, I know you love to engage with people and talk with people.
Yes,
so
I have. Yeah.
You're not just showing. I'm thinking back to the old art, going back. You could go back to like the 1600s, below that, before then even, right? A bowl of fruit kind of thing. All the great artists, they learned doing
Still
fruit.
life. Yes.
Still life, right? Sorry, I forgot the name. That's not what your fruit and vegetables or fruits and vegetables are about. It's not about just something beautiful to look at. Yours is pushing people to think about themselves in a different way, or trying to inspire them.
What I try to do is even, like using very like regular, like common objects such as fruits and vegetables. There's always a layer underneath it. So there's always a question. So I have a series that is called "What Are You Hungry For?" And it's a word search. It's actually 2 word searches with the things that I am hungry for.
Yeah.
And I say that it's an interactive piece. So I invite the viewer to, like to find the words and circle the words and, like look at it. And then I offer a series of 1,000 postcards of visual representation of the things that I'm hungry for, that nourishes me. And I say that even though "what are you hungry for?" it may sound like a very simple question, it has so many layers to it, especially for us women, because I think that we are raised, at least I was raised, to please others, to serve, to be like a good girl, to be nice, a nice girl. And sometimes we just don't think about the things that nourishes us. So, like a walk at the beach, like a bowl of whatever, cereal, fruit, pasta, risotto, like tea, sunset, the ocean. So I took the time to sit down and list all the things that nourishes me. And by doing this, I invite others to also think about the things that, like they are hungry for, what makes them happy, and just, like to take some time to think if they are doing those things.
So basically, we're thinking about, rather, what's the important thing is to think about what we do have, in a sense, and what we can have that's, that's not physical kind of thing. The food's physical, but I mean, rather than what we don't have. And I think that's where a lot of suffering comes from. I want more success. I want more, I want, I don't know, respect. I want a better job.
Recognition, money,
people's lives, and so would you say that your work, and we're showing some of it as we talk right now.
Yes. And gratitude, like being grateful for.
So you're going to tell us a little bit about what we're seeing right now, some of the work. Is that all you?
Yes.
No. It's all you. Different, different spaces.
Yes. No. I'll explain this to you. So this is called Beautylize. It's a word play on my favorite quote, that is beauty-lies in the eyes of the beholder. And for this series, I made 75 self-portraits using AI to alter my image. And so this came from, I was renewing my driver's license, and I didn't know that I had to retake the picture. And when I received the document, I looked, like I was looking ugly and fat because I was in the disabled booth. So the person that took the picture from, like from below. So, and when I received the document and I looked at my picture, it's like a tiny picture.
Your
And
license. You're talking about your driver's license.
Yes, yeah, I'm talking about my driver's license. But it's like a tiny picture. But the impact that it had on me,
Mm.
I couldn't stop crying
Oh,
because I looked ugly.
you weren't happy with the way you looked.
And
I
I and
wonder
it,
sometimes, does everybody go through this every day? At some point, even people that are very spiritual have to work on this. I'm not my body. I'm
and
not
then
my
yes,
face.
exactly. And I was crying. I wasn't crying because, like I looked ugly. I was crying because, like I've been through so much. This is what I talk about. This is what I deal through my work. And it still has a huge impact on me. So I
Yeah.
was, like I was sad, I was disappointed, and I was comparing myself, like to my friends back in Brazil, which I was, like seeing through social media. And then I realized, I was like, what are we feeding ourselves in terms of image? And
Yeah.
we are feeding ourselves with fake images because, like everybody's using AI to alter their own image and filters and things like this. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a try, see how it goes.
Here it
And when I
is.
and when I started, it made me sad, because I was looking at um, like pictures of myself, but it wasn't myself. I will never look like this. So you can see, like it looks like a younger version of myself, a different haircut or something like this. But it's just to show that, like it's not real, that beauty lies.
So it's all about getting real,
Yes,
get real, and let's
get real.
become who we
Yes.
truly are. And that's the journey. That's the journey. I feel that
With
the
humor,
more,
and have fun in the process.
yeah, it's true. Have fun. What is this? I
So
can't figure. I don't know what this is. Ooh, what?
this is the series of cyanotype. It's called Sugar Blues.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reference to a book from the 70s. I have the book here.
What's the book? And I think I know who the author is. No, no, I don't. I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the book is called Sugar Blues, and the series is also called Sugar Blues, and it talks about. So the book is about the book tells how sugar, like works in our body.
Mm,
So
mm.
how addictive it is, and
Yeah.
how the industry puts sugar everywhere to make us even more addicted to food, and how it can control people through this addiction.
Yeah.
And I made a series of cyanotypes
Mhm.
um, with sugar. So this is food, this is sugar, it's made with
Yeah.
sugar.
This is to be aware of the sugar, you mean, in our lives, how much sugar and
Not only that, but I showed this as an installation. And
yeah.
then through this installation, I kind of tell my own story and the struggle with trying to be in control, which is something that is really strong in emotional eating disorder. So when you have bulimia, and this is what I can talk about, you're
Mhm.
always trying to be in control.
Mm, mm.
And then eventually you lose control, and then you regain control, and then you lose control and regain. And it's like a cycle of trying to be in control. So the way that I install this is, like it goes from one sugar cube to two to three to four to 10. And then it's very like organized in geometrical forms. And then it's like a explosion, and it goes back and it goes. So it's this idea of trying to be in control and losing control.
Mm. Yeah, I see. Well,
Yeah.
I guess that's how life is, isn't it? We're in control one minute, we're not in
No, we're
control.
not. It's an
Next.
illusion.
And it is. And I think the more we try not to be in control and just let it be, let
Let
things
it
happen
be.
naturally and organically, we become much more content. So
Yes.
here
And
you are at
focus.
a
Yes.
gallery. Here's your
Yes.
work at a gallery.
This was my latest show at the MIFA Gallery here in Miami. It was
in
a
Miami.
solo show curated by Adriana Herrera. And in this picture, you can see 3 series. So there's Exposed, the X-ray images of fruits and vegetables that we talked about. And to the right, you can see Dysmorphia.
Mm.
It's a series of photographs that talks about body dysmorphic disorder. So to represent the concept, I used magnifying lenses, because this is how ones feel with body dysmorphic disorder. You perceive one little detail as something huge. This is a close-up. Yeah,
so
close-up.
Do people know what they're seeing, or do they need some commentary, or they read about it when they get there, or does it? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, sometimes, because like when you look at it, you can kind of identify like an organic form. So I intentionally use food that feels familiar to body parts, so you can, and I get rid of the color element, because I think that the color shows too much, and I want I want the viewer to really look at it and try to figure out what it is. Also, this is here.
I was wondering about this, earlier.
So this is called Imprinted, and it's a series of photographs that I took of my own body. So it's a parallel that I draw, like between real scars and, like emotional scars. So the images are just pictures of my body, my belly, marked by clothes.
Bella,
So those
I don't think that I've met anybody, or I've interviewed anybody that has really delved into themselves as an artist like this. I mean, or if they did, let's say even Van Gogh did, right? Or, artists have, but you don't know that much about it. And you are so open and willing to talk about your own experiences and your own, what you've been through, that I just find this so fascinating, because this is what we need to be able to be honest with ourselves, don't we? And to be able to look at our lives.
Yes.
So can I ask you, because we're out of time right now, I could talk with you, I know already, hours. Bella, do you feel like you're affecting people's lives when they see your art and learn about what it is you're trying to do to help them on their own journey?
Yes. Yes.
With not just food, but experiences in life, and
just being vulnerable. I feel that when you open up, people open up to you in return. So this is what's happening. Yes.
You're doing that. You are totally opening yourself up. And I know that you love to speak when you have these shows, these art shows all over.
Yes.
I know you have some big ones in LA too, and other places. And I think, to me, what I'm getting from you is that you're inviting people through your art to think about their lives and to think about who they really are, and all through looking at fruits and vegetables. Great. Bella, love getting to interview you. We've been talking a little bit before this interview. We were on Zoom before, and you have a lot to share. And I think, we're in a world where we need this kind of reflection, and we need this kind of thinking, and yay, fruits and vegetables. The Brahma Kumaris are vegetarians, so this fits right in, with our, our work and what we believe in. And but we're not trying to change anyone but ourselves.
No. Yes.
Nobody has to do what you do unless they're ready or they want to. It's a pleasure, Bella, and let me know when the next show is, because I'm going to come. So thank you so much. And you have a website? You want to share the website?
Yes, I have a website. I have Instagram, LinkedIn, bellacardim.com. Thank you so much.
To get to talk with you. We have to continue this.
Yes.
And we always say Om Shanti, which means I'm peace. So Om Shanti. Thank you.
Om Shanti. Thank
and
you,
thank
Meredith.
you, Mita. our director, our technical director, who's been a part of every single show that we've done over the last, I want to say 3 years, Conversations with Friends. So thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.